We're going to count down our top 25 most important Eagles on the show, focusing on one of the anchors on the offensive line. That would be one Landon Dickerson. Can he stay healthy?
Yes, anchor.
And be one of the lead blockers for Saquon Barkley. Very, very important. As we welcome you now to Birds Huddle, presented by Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL. Amy Fiddle alongside Barrett Brooks and Ryan Fowler. Plenty to get to in this one, but it's that lull right now. You know, there's nothing going on. There's no training camps, no OTAs, and the Sixers said, we got you. We got you. Paul George is gone. In his place is Jaylen Brown.
I mean, that's amazing.
Right, I know it's a football show. We're going to get to it, but seriously.
I mean, come on out.
We took Philadelphia by storm.
I mean, come on. One of the smartest guys in the league, and he's coming in. What is he going to play? Whatever he wants to play.
Get him where
he
fit in.
Keys. Hey, Embiid, let the man go. You know, let him be that guy. Yeah, for sure. Let's go.
A little bit interesting, relationship there, too. I'm excited for it. But we do have football to talk about, Ryan. This is kind of a lull time. There's not a whole lot going. So how do you as a reporter in this and as an analyst in this, what do you do during this time?
Well, I think you look across, not just for the Eagles, but you look across the NFC East, you look across the NFC, kind of scour depth charts, kind of look back to what each team did in free agency or the draft, or even guys maybe looking to take a step into year 2 or 3 for each team, and new offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators across each conference. So, yes, we are in that lull, but we are right around the corner. And as each day goes by, you just mentioned the NBA. The NBA can have their buzz for a little bit, but in just about a month's time, the NFL is going to take that reign back.
Yeah, we got 4 weeks. 4 weeks. Then we'll see where LeBron James signs, and then it'll go crazy again. But let's check out our three-point stance. It is brought to you by Toyota. First up, Barrett, I'm going to start with you on this one because it is about the offensive line and the health of it. That's a key to the whole season. We talked about Cam Jurgens yesterday, but we got to focus on Landon Dickerson. And here's a guy, one of the big keys, certainly for Jalen Hurts, but especially Saquon Barkley. He is not an injury-prone player necessarily. I know you're going to talk about this, Ryan, but he's a guy that did contemplate retirement because of how he felt last year. So how important is Landon Dickerson be?
Landon Dickerson is that all-important left side of the offensive line. You know, both him and Jordan Mailata. That's over 700 pounds of man flesh. That's when coming off the ball, you're hitting somebody in the mouth. Now, I'm going to say this. Does that necessarily mean that he's going to work well in his offense? We'll see. I mean, it's a little different because you're track blocking, and it means you have to go out there and really move the defender. And he's used to going out there and mauling the defender. But he has, used a little reserve because if that guy slants in, that's not his guy. He's got to be Cam Jurgens getting him, and he goes to the next guy. But it's different in your mindset on how to do it. You can't go out there and Hulk smash everybody. You got to use a little discipline and stay on your track. But I tell you what, that's a lot of discipline coming off the rock and hitting you in the mouth. 6'6", over 330 pounds, coming off the rock and hitting you, man, that's a lot of weight. So you want to be behind him. He's the reason why the tush push is successful. Now that we have Cam back, him and Cam coming off the rock, now we'll be able to run that all-important play that we need, especially on third and short. So he is the guy we need healthy this year.
Yeah, I mean, the whole O-line really was banged up. And, they were banged up during the Super Bowl year, but winning cures all of that. Yeah. But it really started to affect the offense in a big way last year. So how important is that health overall for the line?
It's huge. I think when you look across the front five, when the Eagles are healthy up front, I think they are the top unit in the NFL, and I really don't think it's close because when they're at their best, they're able to lean on defensive lines. When you get to the third and fourth quarter, Barrett, you mentioned it as far as they're not going to go out this year and run a ton of power. Yep. It's going to be that zone blocking as far as attacking angles and attacking leverage. Yep. All those front five guys can do that. The athleticism is there. We've seen them win with power. It's going to be a little bit different this year, and I'm just pumped up to see these guys healthy. It doesn't have to be 100% every single game. That's not really reality. But to get this front five back with the rapport that they're going to have in a new look scheme in the ground game, it's going to be fun to watch this front five go to work.
All right, let's check out our second stance without A.J. Brown. That's right, he's gone. One Brown in, one Brown out. The offense could open up more. What are you talking about? But A.J. Brown, when you look at it, took up a lot of targets. And if he didn't take a lot of targets, he let you hear about it. So no A.J. It's got to be kind of that ride the hot hand type of vibe or multiple hot hands. Does that actually open up the offense because you're not maybe having to really focus on the one guy?
Yeah, 121 targets is what you're going to have to make up really in the aggregate this year. And I think it's absolutely going to open up everything around Devontae Smith really because, look, he's your wide receiver one. You brought in Mekhi Lemon for a reason, but I don't think you need him to have 95-plus receptions in year one. Eli Stowers, Dallas Goedert. And what you do by being a diversified passing attack is you force teams to attack you either, look, we're going to stop the run or we're going to try to stop you in the pass. And if you can become a complementary offense to where Sean Mannion can look across the field, that defensive coordinator, and say, look, pick your poison here because we can go at you with the ground game and through the air. I'm very interested to see how this offense continues to evolve by allowing guys behind number 6 on the outside, Dontavian Wicks. Guys like Johnny Wilson, what are we going to see from him this year? Yeah. Step up and get maybe 20 or 30 more targets than they had in the years prior.
I mean, you're talking about different, packages as far as personnel.
Yeah.
12, 13 personnel, 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends. When you have a guy like Eli Stowers and then you have Dallas Goedert out there, you put him in motion, you put Stowers in motion. Now it becomes a threat. Now you can't get your hands on him going off the ball. Then you got to run play action. When you run play action, you must force them linebackers to come up. Then you have guys that can run behind them between the safeties and the linebackers. It's going to open up the middle of the field, get Jalen and both throw the ball there. So I really think that, that's what they really need to do as far as opening up the offense, have more than just, drop back pass. Now they have the ability to help the tackles out. They used to have them tackles all by themselves, one-on-one, every single play. That's why I say, I gave them a yeoman's, salute for them going out there and doing that every single play of their Philadelphia Eagles career. Well, now they'll have some protection from the guards. They're going to slide a little bit, give these guys a little help.
Yeah.
But, yes, this offense can be explosive with all the weapons we have right now.
Is it weird to think that A.J. Brown, I'm not going to say he's holding him back, he's a 1,000-yard receiver, right? But, I mean, you did really have to focus on him, and I'm sure that's in the back of whether it was the offensive coordinator's mind or certainly Jalen Hurts' mind. See?
I think so. I mean, he put it like this. When they call plays, you have – A.J. there, he got probably 65% of the play calls called for him.
Right.
That's a lot. 65% of all the play calls were called for him, for him to be open, for him to get the ball. Now you got to take that and diversify it a little bit, just like you said. So, I mean, it's tough, from 65% to now he's not there anymore.
Well, you mentioned the middle of the field as well. That's why you drafted Mekhi Lemon as well from USC. For those out there that did not watch him at USC, the middle of the field is where he dominated. He does not have the big physical frame like a Johnny Wilson.
Right.
He's a little bit lighter, but as far as how he plays bigger than his frame. Mm-hmm. When I think about guys that play bigger than their frame at 5'11", scouts love guys that small play big, hate the opposite way.
Right.
Mekhi Lemon should fit this scheme ideally over the middle of the field, and again, being that complementary weapon to Devontae Smith.
That attitude of wanting to be great and wanting to go out there and
definitely
control
has
the game.
that.
Yes.
The Philly mentality is already
You're
on.
going to be good here, kid. Our third stance deals with the rookie tight end, Eli Stowers. We just mentioned him, came out of Vanderbilt. He's going to be a factor in this offense. We've seen Dallas Goedert deal with some injuries in recent seasons, though last year was probably his healthiest, and that's why he had 11 touchdowns. But he still missed a little bit of time. In order to keep Dallas Goedert healthy, Stowers is going to have to be a factor. He can spell him a little bit. So combine that with Sean Mannion's offense and how much it uses the tight end, you would think this could be a really important, kind of piece as a rookie. I know that's a lot to put on him, Ryan, but when you're looking at it, Eli Stowers could be a big factor.
I'm excited for Eli Stowers. Now, I will say this. I don't think we're going to see the ceiling of Eli Stowers maybe until next season because I think right away you can't be predictable as far as bringing Eli Stowers in the field and a defense knows, hey, we're going to throw the ball because he's on the field. He has to get bigger, has to get stronger as far as just a willingness to stick your face in the mud as a blocker, being a wide tight end at times. You can't just always come on the field and be a flex weapon, like some teams had him graded in this pre-draft process strictly as a flex weapon.
Right.
But I think him coming in as that F piece in space, in the slot, Barrett mentioned earlier as far as that motion inside, to get him in one-on-one opportunities against corners and safeties. You're going to see that early on from Eli Stowers as a dynamic seam threat that's going to force teams across the NFC and specifically in the NFC East as far as a guy that can really go over the top and make plays for you.
Yeah, I mean, you call him F. Could be an H-back.
Yeah,
yeah. An H-back is a guy that, plays almost like a fullback capacity, but in the passing game. He could be that guy, but he's going to have to learn to go out there and block defensive ends. As soon as he becomes a blocker, or at least a decent blocker, the sky's the limit on what he can do on the field. But right now, his productivity is going to be lessened just because he can't be on the field all the time.
It's crazy how many tight ends they're probably going to keep because of this offense, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you have to.
You have to. Back here in Birds Huddle with our countdown of the top 25 most important Eagles today. We're looking at number 12, and that, as we're going to take a look at our list so far. We've talked about a number of different people, but we're going to focus on the offensive line. So we had Cam Jurgens yesterday. You can see Landon Dickerson coming in today. We've covered a lot of people. This seems to me a little bit low
Yes.
for him?
Absolutely.
Considering, and you said this about Cam Jurgens yesterday, Barrett, you thought he should be like a top 10. I would say that Landon Dickerson should probably be a top 10. But what do you make of his position on our list before we get into him?
Well, I mean, you're talking about a guy that's a Pro Bowler. I mean, he came in and really just solidified that left guard position. And the tandem of him and Jordan Mailata, that's over 700 pounds. That means, that coming off the ball, hitting you in the mouth every single play, that's tough on a defensive lineman. And plus, he's a nasty guy, too. He's he's a teddy bear. You meet him off the field. He's the nicest guy in the world.
You follow him on Instagram. He does DIY,
right.
projects, and then you see him on the field. I'm like, that does not. I don't understand how.
He's trying to rip your head off in your skull. He's trying to make you look bad, and he's just that type of player. So I mean, his worth on this team was shown last year. Him not being in the lineup, him not being healthy, showed how bad this offense is without him. It was definitely a measuring rod on what we need in that offensive line. So him not being healthy really showed how the offense is based on him being out there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the offensive line is key. That's why they're 13-12. And you could make an argument for them to be 10-9 or whatever it is. But when you're looking at Landon Dickerson, he came in here, huge expectations. The line has been a real plus, maybe one of the best offensive lines, certainly over a good period of time. And he's a big reason for it. You see three-time Pro Bowler, turns 28, so he's not even 28 yet.
Young buck.
He is a very important piece, but I mentioned it earlier about him contemplating retirement. The injury is something he hasn't really dealt with, and you mentioned this, Ryan, but he did deal with it last year. How hard is it going to be for him to come back and kind of be in that right mindset?
I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah.
I think once you come in between the lines, as long as he's played, NFL football and even 5 years of college at Florida State and Alabama, once you get in between the lines, I know Barrett obviously knows this best, you turn it on a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think how important is he really along this front five? He's someone, again, that can win with power. I think he can also get out to the perimeter a little bit. Maybe that's not a ton of attention towards that as far as in this offense, but I'll say this in that, look, we talk a lot about the skill positions with Saquon Barkley and Devonta Smith, but since the dawn age of football, if you cannot control the line of scrimmage on offense or on defense, you're not going to set yourself up for a potential Super Bowl run here in 2026 for the Eagles looking to lift their third Lombardi trophy. He's a key part of that. The entire four guys around him are a key part of that. I think he's going to be back to getting to what he was in the Pro Bowl level and to allow this front five to do what they do best, allow the Eagles to do what they do best, and that's run the football and get after people up front.
Here. I second that.
Run the ball.
Yes, That's what it is. That's what it's all about.
But you mentioned a little bit something that I want to touch on because you said maybe the system isn't set up perfectly for him because he's more of a Hulk smash, I think is how you put it.
Hulk
and you have to be a
smash,
little bit more finesse-driven with this. Can he make that transition?
Of course, he's one of the smarter guys in the NFL. He's going to make sure that, he's going to do whatever it takes for this offense to be successful, this team to be successful. But track block is a little different. He's one of those guys, once he sees different color jersey, he wants to take that jersey out. But within the scheme, if that guy loops around and he's not going to follow, he can't follow him. He's going to want to follow him. He's like, nope, he's got to stay on his track and continue his track and let let Cam Jurgens get him. That's how it is. But, he's learning. Talking to the guys, they're starting to get a sense on how to do it. And I think they'll be ready once camp starts. They're going to have to run at full speed reps before they really get the gist of it. But, this is something this offense is made for smaller guys that are really not athletic and kind of, smaller as far as their stature, because it helps you out because it displaces the defense. It moves them out. It creates holes by moving players on the outside instead of moving guys, driving them off the ball.
Yeah.
So he wants to drive him off the ball. He wants to put his hands on, Hulk smash, let's get him, let's rock out.
That's a tough transition, though.
It's very tough, and it's going to take him a while to do that.
He's been playing one way, and then now he's got to shift to another way.
Yeah, on 1st and 10, you could be running something where, hey, look, I'm pulling outside the center, like you just talked about with Cam Jurgens, or then we could get to a 4th and 1 against the Giants in the Meadowlands where you got to get a yard, run behind him. I can go A to B and run through that, one text face mask and get that yard. So he can do a little bit of both. Not everybody can do that.
Right.
There's a reason why he's a 3-time Pro Bowler, and I think he's going to be just fine with the injuries that he dealt with last year.
It's going to be good to see. That line is back, and it is a big key.